welcome to Smart Education Today podcast, where business meets innovation in the world of education. We bring you the latest insights, inspiring stories, and groundbreaking ideas shaping the future of learning from classrooms to boardrooms. I am Hera, Ahmad, your host and guide on this journey through the ever-evolving landscape of education. Whether you are an educator, entrepreneur, policymaker, or lifetime learner, this podcast is your go-to source for smart conversations that matter. Today, we are thrilled to have a game changer with us, a visionary in education, whose out-of-the-box thinking is shaping the future. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Tilak Jha, Associate Professor, Times School of Media. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Today, we are going to have an interesting conversation with Dr. Jha regarding the evolution of media education in India. So let's dive straight into it. From BBC to classroom, what inspired the transition from media practice to teaching?
Well, it's not an easy journey, especially if you're in an active field. Getting back to journalism, from journalism to teaching is always something totally in an opposite direction, I would say. In media industry, you are constantly chasing deadlines and running around and so many things. Although the BBC was a very different kind of experience, it's a much well-defined organization in terms of work culture and everything. But yes, teaching was always there. Teaching was always on the cards. And I would say that especially because of the way industry was shaping, the COVID was, although I joined just before COVID, and the limitations of reporting China, I would say, traveling on journalism visa to China is complicated. First, visa you get, but at times they keep too much care of you while you are on those trips. And of course, there was limitations in terms of the fact that the BBC has a very tightly controlled bureau in China. But I would say that coming back to academia, coming back because I used to take tuitions earlier when I was since class 10th actually. So my whole life I used to sort of teach students, run at times spoken English, at times a few other things. So it was not like a very new thing. It was like homecoming. My father is a teacher, my grandmother was a teacher. The entire family is of teachers in a way. My grandfather was a teacher. There was a school they had opened several years ago. So teaching was naturally, there was an inclination. And so yes, it felt like homecoming, and I think in hindsight, I feel like this was the best thing to happen.
Okay, sir. So, sir, coming to the media segment, are media schools keeping pace with the real-world media ecosystems?
That is always a challenge, because I would say that if you compare the way media industry, or for that matter, even society has been changing 100 years ago compared to the speed at which it's changing today. The speed is absolutely phenomenal. You see the kind of transformation we are witnessing with some of the technologies that you might have witnessed over the past 5-6 years. We didn't know till 6-7 years ago that there would be something like AI with the kind of expertise, like generative expertise that it is having today.
AI revolution.
Yeah, AI revolution. And now we are talking about vibe coding. We are talking about metaverse. So technology is changing so fast, and that itself,
keeping pace with the technology,
that itself for media school is always a challenge. Having said that, I would say that those schools which have managed to survive and which are continuing to survive, they have upgraded themselves. So they have to change very, very fast. So not everybody is able to do it. Not every school is able to do it. This is why we also see that so many journalism schools are not really even surviving. But yes, it is happening. So with technology, what has also happened that it has enabled the possibility to change fast.
New opportunities.
Yes. For example, adopting ChatGPT, all you need is a laptop and a browser and a few coders and a few
even with the phone also, we can use ChatGPT for our work. For the daily basis work also, we quickly need to find something or, want something, some content for something.
The entry barrier has gone down.
Yes, sir.
So, for example, earlier when possibly the first time these video cameras came that we are recording right now, it cost so much, and you had to have this, it would cost a fortune, and you have to have possibly set up, there were lighting issues, there were so many other issues, technicality, not everybody could handle, you needed a lot of training. Today, phones and smartphones, literally everybody can handle. So the entry barrier is very low in terms of cost, in terms of technical skill, and that is really spearheading an entire democratization of adoption of technology.
So, sir, since we know that you hold a PhD degree in Chinese media and you have been working in China as journalist specialist for BBC, reporting in China from a distance, what challenges do journalists face while covering a country like China?
See, reporting China, even if you are inside China, is a challenge. For example, I had my BBC colleagues who deliberately once violated a red light and he did something, and within 7 minutes the police was there. So whenever we were on reporting trips once in a while, similar situations would be there. Too much care, too much attention. Not that they would tell you, but that's how it works. So I think reporting from distance is always a challenge, because if you see the case of Chinese media, I think whenever we used to cover press conferences in person or otherwise by the foreign ministry, you could actually write word by word what is going to be the statement of the foreign ministry spokesperson on that day. You just waited for confirmation. So it is that predictable. And I think because of the restrictions in Chinese media, the kind of news that comes out is also very, very restricted. So there are opportunities. Having said that, social media does its tricks. In case of China as well, social media, the news first breaks
China
there.
is a very fast-growing country.
It is very fast-growing. Censorship is there, but still news does come out. Restrictions have dramatically continue to go up, by the way. So, but then if you follow, then you get to know what is happening.
Okay, sir. So, what is China's influence on global digital market, if we talk about?
It's, I would say, huge. Huge in the sense that if you imagine in today's time, the amount of data that the Chinese have is absolutely phenomenal. Because say whatever you want, but they are a very differently ruled country in terms of legal system, in terms of privacy rights, in terms of the kind of legal system that they have, legal challenges to violations of these things. Not that this is not happening in democracy. We have heard about WikiLeaks, we have heard about Pegasus and all these things, but in China's case, you will rarely hear such sort of news, even breakouts, because there's so much of control. So China is not just doing that inside the country. It has exported surveillance technology all over the world, especially in dictatorships, in authoritarian regimes, and people are happily. People who are ruling, those who are the elites anywhere, they want these technologies to control people. So the Chinese definitely have a very important sort of influence at global level with these technologies, with these surveillance tools, with the kind of monitoring that they are able to do. They have a very developed spy network as well. That is also there. Of course, they are also doing very good in satellite technologies and 5G and other high techs. So that is also aiding. Apart from that, I think for example, if you take the case of India-China border region itself, in recent years, I would say, Chinese drones have been found to be coming from all over, and they cost $1,500. So earlier drones would cost several $1,000,000. But today it costs less than $1,000 at times. So this is also sort of enabling different non-state actors as well in today's time. And this is being sort of in a way helped by China. Yeah.
Okay, so that was about China's global influence on...
So the influence is not just coming in terms of digital per se directly. Mm-hmm. You see, there are other influences which enable digital as well. If you have non-state actors which are doing the bidding of the Beijing, doing the bidding of the Chinese government, they also act as facilitators of secret information. And of course, through Chinese phones and mobile phones and the smartphones, technically, they take all the permissions that there is in your phone,
Through cookies and everything.
Through cookies, through fake apps, through apps which are dicey and they are just sort of keeping a tab on you. So
they basically...
Privacy is a myth, as it say.
They take the data from us through the apps and these websites.
They don't say it. Nobody would ever say it. Mm-hmm. But if the Americans didn't stop at even sort of snooping on their allies, including heads of state, is there any reason to believe any other country? I don't think. Statecraft is that brutal often at times your friends are doing it. And I don't think the Chinese would be any generous in that count.
So that was about China. Okay, so coming back to the education segment now, how have curriculums adapted to digital transformation in terms of AI and other technologies?
See, one thing that has happened for sure is that today, curriculum, not just in terms of teaching, in terms of assessment, in terms of the kind of assignments that students should be preparing for, they have changed. Earlier, there used to be so many content writing roles, but at the same time, it's not that writing has stopped, but you need to go beyond AI in terms of putting that human intervention. What AI does, it does better than most people. But what it cannot do, for that you need really high level of skill. So our challenge is to prepare students for critical thinking, for looking beyond algorithm, looking beyond what these patterns can predict, or for that matter, reading those patterns in terms of what impact it will do on human society, individuals. So that is the challenge. So curriculums are constantly, for example, if you ask me, earlier I used to give at times presentations in book. Today, if I ask students to prepare a presentation, what does it take? You give the name of the book, possibly it's a few pages which is available on the Google. It will give you a very good presentation, just ready-made. You don't even have to make a PPT, right? So, in this kind of challenge, if you give that assignment, that's not going to work. So, for example, when I gave defense this time, I asked them to come and meet in person and defend the book. And I asked questions just like that. It took more effort, but I would say it was more worth it. I have no hesitation in saying that since changing to this assignment mode, my students that I am teaching today, they are reading more books than possibly earlier because now they don't have a choice. So yes, it is a tool which we need students to learn at times, but at the same time, if they realize that it is just a tool and that it is not a substitute for their personal skills, it's very useful. It's something that we must adopt in curriculum, but we also should be mindful that it should not stop the human element from our learning, the critical thinking and the such aspect.